Hi folks, today I'm going to review for you the Vortec RDX from Horton. You probably recognize Horton and remember that it was purchased a few years ago by the archery giant TenPoint. Horton represents TenPoint's midline, where Wicked Ridge is on the bottom, the economy price, then it goes Horton, and then up all the way to the top to the TenPoint line. But I think Horton represents one of the best values in the industry because it's essentially TenPoint's technology and engineering under the tutelage of Rick Bednar, American-made, CNC machined with quality, but yet they've placed it at a little bit lower price point, so I think it's one of the better values. It's much better than Horton was of old days by far, and I'm going to tell you why. It looks a lot like Horton's Storm from last year, but it takes a lot of the great qualities of the Storm and makes it in a smaller, lighter package, and I think that's extremely important and all around made this bow a little bit better. It uses Storm's reverse draw technology, which Horton is still one of only about 3 companies in the business that use it because they have to pay a licensing fee, but I think it's superior, and I'll tell you why. Basically, it allows you to get a more compact, shorter crossbow while keeping a great, a long power stroke, and that gives you that power. So, by doing this and combining a few technologies, Horton produced a crossbow that's only 135 pounds pull weight. That makes it toward the lower end of most crossbows, so virtually anybody can crank this thing. Even if you happen to be the weakest person on the face of the earth, you're going to be able to crank it, and I'll show you why. But they did this because the reverse draw technology still gives this baby a 15.5-inch power stroke, and that allows this thing to shoot a 400 grain arrow at 340 feet per second. That's the company's claims, and I also verified that with my chronograph, so that's legit. When you cock this thing, and I'll show you in a minute, it goes down to 9 inches, which makes it one of the shortest axle to axle in the league, and I think that's extremely important for hunting. It makes it tremendously easy to wield. It has probably the most robust, strongest riser in the industry. I call this thing in my write-up a hunk of steel, and it is no less. These giant limb pockets, I mean, you just can't budge that. You can't flex them. That imbues great inherent accuracy right there. It's got these split limbs that are very powerful, and also these super aggressive cams. If you don't have to draw your string like you do a normal bow and you don't have to hold it there, why not go aggressive? There's really no trade-off, no downside on a crossbow when it's manually cranked and held mechanically. So all these things allow this thing that speed in this short of a package, but the bow is also safe. It's got these safety wings that keep your thumb out of the way. They're rigid, yet they're soft. It's also got a very simple safety that's quiet. It also can be taken out and put on the left-hand side to make this thing fully ambidextrous. Another thing, though, back to the accuracy that makes this accurate is the trigger. This thing measured under 3 pounds at 2.68 ounces, and that's key for crossbows that have relatively slow lock time, and your follow-through is critical, but having a great trigger like this is most important. I also like this bow because it was one of the top 3 easiest to assemble out of the box and get shooting. The riser's already on, everything's attached except this stirrup. You simply put this on, put in the screws, and then put the scope on the full-length Picatinny rail. The scope was already in the ring, so you just attach it on. I was shooting this thing and hitting the target in 4 minutes. Let me show you how this thing works. It comes with the ACUdraw 50. That's a carryover from the TenPoint line, and I love it because it keeps the whole cocking system on board, and you really need something like this. You can forget cocking a reverse draw technology crossbow with your bare hands. It simply creates too acute of a string angle, and it's even hard with most traditional rope cockers. So this is the solution, and this is an excellent one. So take this thing out, put it over the scope, attach it to the string, then take this handy dandy what's essentially a ratchet, take it out. I love it that Horton gives you an onboard storage. Now you can lose this thing, believe me, but it does make it harder if you remember to put it back every time. Take it from me, in a pinch you can use a normal ratchet, or if you are so inclined, an impact wrench. Anyway, put that in there. Now crank this thing back. Like I said, anybody, even if you're the weakest human on earth, can crank this thing. Right now I kind of feel like Kevin Costner in Dances with wolves, making the coffee for the Indians. But anyway, cock it, back it off to release the tension. Oh, put that back. See there? Take the cocker off. What I like is that it's still under spring tension, so it automatically goes back, keeps it handy. It doesn't even move around. So now you probably see, look how narrow that is. That's 9 inches, axle to axle. Compact. I can carry this thing with one hand. I love it. Take an arrow, cock vein down, the safety, and I can make that thing quiet if I want it. It's the Horton Vortec RDX. It costs about $1,000, which I think makes it one of the better values in the business. Keep in mind that there are plenty of crossbows now that cost $1,400, $1,500, even $2,000. So for $1,000, you get a scope, arrows, a quiver, rope cocking device, and a wonderful crossbow. I think that makes it a pretty good buy. I'm Jeff Johnston for Inside Archery. Happy hunting. And remember, if we're going to hunt and fish forever, we got to stay together.